Hello! The 21st episode of To the Sea, the official podcast of the Brazilian Institute for the Law of the Sea, BILOS, is starting. My name is Lili Lima. I'm a law student at the Doelder Câmara Superior School and a geography student at the Federal University of Minas Gerais. And today we're celebrating a year of the podcast, which is better known as Ao Mar in Portuguese, for having been originally created to disseminate the main information on the legal study of seas and the ocean and to promote the Brazilian Institute for the Law of the Seas activities in Brazil. In this sense, the episodes of Ao Mar have been carried out with Brazilian guests and published in Portuguese, but today we will do it differently. Like BILOS, we're going overseas. We have listeners in several countries besides Brazil, and we wonder what it's like for them to listen to the podcast and maybe not understand what we are talking about. So, this episode revives the first one published on June 15, 2020, in which we interviewed the president of BILOS, Dr. Tiago Vinicius Anella, about the law of the sea in Brazil and in the world, and the performance of the Brazilian Institute for the Law of the Sea, BILOS, but now in English, so that listeners interested in the Institute's activities or even about the way in which the law of the sea is studied in Brazil can learn more about our initiatives. Created at the initiative of the BILOS board under the coordination of one of the directors at the time and current executive secretary Dr. Andrés Paiva Toledo, the podcast is scripted, edited, and presented by me, Lili Lima, one of the Institute's interns. In the year of podcast, we published 20 episodes of interviews with great researchers and professionals in the law of the sea and related areas, such as international relations, biology, fisheries management, maritime law, and port law, totaling more than 1,000 reproductions in all streaming platforms where the podcast can be found. And we are so grateful for each one of them. But today we do another thing differently. Instead of interviewing a guest about a specific topic, as we have been doing throughout this year, let's hear a little bit from each member of the Brazilian Institute for the Law of the Sea about its activities, initiatives, and the propagation of the law of the sea in Brazil promoted by the Institute. We are really excited for this, so let's get started. First, introducing the Institute, we have the current president, Dr. Tiago Zanella, back on the podcast. Hi, Dr. Zanella, how are you? It is a joy to have you again at Ao Mar. Tell the audience what the Institute is about and how do you see its importance for the promotion of the law of the sea in Brazil. BILOS history is incredible, and you were one of the founding members of this institute. Where did the idea of creating the institute come from, and how did this process take place? How do you see the BILOS evolution over time?
Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you today to talk about the Brazilian Institute of the Law of the Sea. My name is Tiago Zanella, and I am the president of BILOS, the Brazilian Institute of the Law of the Sea. The Institute is an open association which is open to all who are interested in the law of the sea. Anyone who wants to contribute to the law of the sea in Brazil can participate in the Institute. The main objective of BILOS, the reason why it was created, is to contribute to the development of the law of the sea in Brazil. This is why the Institute was founded and our goal, and I believe we are achieving this goal. The idea of creating an Institute of the Law of the Sea in Brazil emerged at the end of 2014, and the Institute was formally created in 2015. Professor Tiago Borges had the original idea of creating the Institute and invited me to participate in the project. I accept the challenge at that very moment, and we start to think about the Institute, and we also start to invite other professors to participate. So we set up our first board. Tiago Borges was the first president, and I was the vice president. We are currently on the second board, which I am the president, and Professor Leonardo Subtil is the vice president today. The Institute developed itself naturally, and in 2017, we organized our first Congress on the Law of the Sea in the city of Salvador, Bahia. Since then, we have already organized 4 Congress on the law of the sea, which bring together the most excellent specialists on the subject in Brazil. The main objective of this Congress is to present the law of the sea, to introduce the law of the sea to the academic community. From this Congress, many students become interested and start to study the law of the sea in Brazil, which is fantastic. This is our principal goal. Well, today we have a direct board who coordinates the work of the Institute, but we also have our interns who do a fantastic job writing news about the law of the sea in Portuguese and in English to our website. We also have our columnists and our associates. As I said at the beginning, BILOS is an open association, and everyone who wants to participate can join the Institute. In addition to the Congress of the Law of the Sea, we organize other specific events, or we publish books on the Law of the Sea. We also organize the ITLOS Moot Court Competition and other activities like this podcast. All this with the intention to promoting Law of the Sea in Brazil. So, well, in an overview, I think is that what I have to say about the Brazilian Institute of the Law of the Sea. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Zanella. Always an honor to have you with us. One of BILOS' main activities is the holding of annual congresses in different Brazilian cities with the publication of collective works focused on the law of the sea. So, we are going to receive Dr. Leonardo de Camargo Subtil, the current vice president and one of the founding members of the Institute, to talk about it. Hi, Dr. Subtil, how are you? How are BILOS congresses organized and what are their main objectives? How do you see the result over these years in the dissemination of the law of the sea in Brazil?
Hello, I am Leonardo de Camargo Subtil, and I'm a professor of international law in Brazil and the vice president of the Brazilian Institute for the Law of the Sea. As scientific coordinator of the BILOS Congress, I would like to present a little of our BILOS Congress history and to make a special invitation to you. The genuine link of our Congress is to develop the law of the sea in Brazil and Latin America based on the contribution of numerous experts from Brazil and around the globe. Speakers at our last Congress were, for example, Professors Aldo Chirkop, Virginie Tasson, and Yoshifumi Tanaka, and also ITLOS Judge Cabello Sarubi. With our first editions held in Salvador, Rio de Janeiro, Belo Horizonte, our next Congress will be held this November. You are all invited by our Institute to navigate with us in the search for more knowledge on the law of the sea. Thank you.
It really is an important initiative. Thank you, Dr. Subitil, for coming back and being a part of this one-year podcast celebration. Dr. Tiago Carvalho Borges, former president, founding member, and one of the Institute's current directors, was present at all congresses from the beginning. And in the last 3 years, he has been coordinating one of the main BILOS events that take place right before the congresses, the ITLOS Moot Court Competition. So, let's hear from him about the initiative. Hi, Dr. Borges, how are you? We're excited to know more about the ITLOS Moot Court Competition. How did it start and how does the competition happen? And from your perspective, what are its contributions for the law of the sea in Brazil?
Hi, my name is Tiago Borges. I am director of the Brazilian Institute of the Law of the Sea, and together with Ms. Julia Weston, I am the coordinator of the Moot Court of International Tribunal of the Law of the Sea. Well, organizing a moot court is a very dynamic experience, and it starts very early in the year, especially now it's an online event. The case has to be written, so we have to contact experts who are interested in doing it. Last year's moot court was a very special one, not only because it was the first online edition, but we had many teams from other countries than Brazil, such as Vietnam and Indonesia. A team from Indonesia won last year's competition. We also have contact with international law experts from all over the world to become judges in the moot court, not only to judge the memorials, but also the oral rounds. The feedback we received last year was very good, and the Brazilian Institute of the Law of the Sea is very proud to be organizing this moot court. Through organizing a moot court, we contribute to the development of the students and also to develop in them an interest for international law and for the law of the sea, which is the Institute's focus. Organizing a moot court is very challenging, but it's also very rewarding. This year, we have already been organizing the third ITLOS Moot Court since the beginning of the year. We are expecting to have another very international edition as it is still be held online. The case will be very interesting, and I'm sure that students will get a lot from the experience. It will definitely be another challenge and another achievement for Brazilian Institute of the Law of the Sea, and we hope that it's as successful or even more than the moot court we had last year.
Incredible! The world of moot court has certainly been enriched with the ITLOS Moot Court Competition promoted by BILOS. Thank you for returning to the podcast and celebrating your first anniversary. Let's talk about other events promoted by BILOS with the PhD candidate and one of the BILOS directors, Fabiana Ventura Piassi. Hi, Mrs. Piassi. How are you? In addition to the congresses and the moot court competition, which take place annually, BILOS also promotes virtual seminars on the most prominent topics in the law of the sea. One of them was the seminar on the occasion of the 25th anniversary of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, held in February this year, 2021, which had the esteemed participation of the current president of ITLOS, Judge Albert Hoffman, on the opening conference. How did this incredible seminar happen, and what is BILOS' intention with that initiative?
First of all, I would like to emphasize the organization of events by the Brazilian Institute for the Law of the Sea. Since last year, in particular, due to the special conditions and restrictions in view of the COVID pandemic, the Institute started to hold its events in a virtual format, with online meetings, conferences, seminars, and workshops. In this context, in this year in particular, I would like to highlight the organization of courtless seminars to discuss issues related to the law of the sea. The first event was the seminar on occasion of the 25th anniversary of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. The seminar took place on February and was attended by researchers, professors, professionals, and students through the presentation of their works published in the book International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, 25 Years of Jurisdiction. This book was dedicated to the memory of Professor Vicente Maruta Rangel, who was a Brazilian judge of the International Tribunal between 1996 and 2015. In this event, it was an honor to the Brazilian Institute to have the intervention of the Judge Albert Hoffman, President of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, in the opening conference of the seminar. We still had the participation as guests of honor of the Brazilian Institute of the Judge Elsa Kelly, who was a member of the International Tribunal, and Judge Oscar Sarubi, who has been a member of the Tribunal since 2017. The next event will be held on June. It will be discussed the legal contributions confronting oil spill on the Brazilian coast. This webinar is intended to build a research agenda in the area of law in connection with other areas of knowledge about the oil spill case in Brazil. Finally, it is worth mentioning that these events are broadcast freely through the official channel of the Brazilian Institute on YouTube. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for getting back to Almar to tell us more about BILOS and be part of the celebration. It was an honor to hear you again. Continuing our one-year podcast celebration, we cannot leave our partners out of this party. After all, BILOS is not a lone ship sailing on the ocean. It is a collective organization that has the support of several people and entities within and outside it. And there is a great joy to be able to count on so many contributions that enrich the work of the Institute. First of all, we are immensely grateful to all of our partners, and to talk about the national partners, no one better than Dr. Karina Costa de Oliveira, one of the BILOS directors and one of the coordinators of the research group on the law of natural resources and sustainability, mainly known by its Portuguese acronym GERN, which is integrated into the Faculty of Law of the University of Brasília and promotes several activities involving the law of the sea in Brazil, and it is one of our partners. Hi, Dr. Oliveira, how are you? Tell us about BILOS relations with Brazilian institutions. Who are the Institute's main national partners, and how does the relationship between them help to spread knowledge about the law of the sea and related areas in Brazil?
So first of all, I would like to say happy birthday to this podcast initiative. I think that it connects IBDMAR and all the directors and all the members to the society. So I think it's a great initiative, and it's directly connected to one of the objectives of IBDMAR, which is to spread the law of the sea to the society, to communicate, to be integrated with different institutions. So one of the result is this connection with national institutions, such as the institutions of its members or its directors, or institutions which work on different issues related to the law of the sea. So, for example, with the University of Brasília, with the research group on law, natural resources, and sustainability, called GERN. These universities or research groups, all the universities from the directors, for example, they are engaged in different activities related to IBDMA, and we have been working together in order to provide an institutional framework to cooperate and to bring different actors, national actors, international actors, to important debates on, for instance, sustainable use and conservation of marine resources, or on delimitation, or on continental shelf and the extension of continental shelf. So I think it's a great idea to be connected not only with law institutions, but also with institutions from different areas. And I think we have improved with this podcast this connection with different institutions, different actors, different people that are very important to strengthen the law of the sea. So congratulations. Congratulations to André, congratulations to Thiago, and congratulations to Lily to make this podcast possible and to connect IBDMA with the society, with different institutions, with different areas of knowledge. And I'm very happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Dr. Oliveira. It is very important to have the collaboration of these institutions and to strengthen national research focused on the sea. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. Coming next, our international partners. We welcome again in our podcast the PhD candidate Luciana Fernandes Coelho, one of the BILOS directors, to talk about BILOS relations with foreign institutions. Hi, Mrs. Coelho, how are you? You are a leading internationalist when it comes to the ocean, and you know how important it is to build relationships with foreign institutions. In this sense, who are BILOS international partners and what is the importance of the relationships established with them?
Hello, Lily. I am delighted to be here speaking with you once again in the podcast. Well, answering your question, the Brazilian Institute for the Law of the Sea seeks to promote and develop the law of the sea, and I would dare to say ocean governance studies in Brazil. Indeed, to do that, we need to be up to date with the hot topics discussed at the international level. Considering that national and international law are intertwined as pertaining to the sea. In addition, with the expansion of the Institute's work, it became clear that we have to communicate the Brazilian scholarship to the worldwide community. Therefore, establishing international cooperation and partnerships was a natural step further for the Institute. Currently, the BILOS has formal cooperation agreements with Ankara University and Kadihas University, both from Turkey, and Ascomari, a law of the sea association based in Italy. On top of that, several international scholars and judges of ITLOS have been participating in events promoted by the Institute, in particular our annual conference, as I think all the law of the sea community has been realizing. The moot court, sponsored by BILOS, has also been a fruitful opportunity to engage with the international community. For instance, last year, 2 international teams participated in it. It was a very huge privilege for us. Besides, a big team of international researchers, scholars, and judges of ITLOS participated in the written and oral rounds assessing the team's performances, which has provided more transparency and independence to the process. Finally, both last year and this year, we had the privilege to count on international experts to draft the moot court cases. All in all, I'm very happy to be assisting the Institute's expansion of its international connections, and I would dare to say this is just the beginning. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being part of our celebration. It is really great to have you back. It's always very important to listen to the women who are part of the BILOS history. Now let's talk about the importance of our international consultants with one of them, Mr. Andrea Lucci, the president of ASCOMARE, Associazione de Consulenza in Diritto Internazionale del Mare, if I'm not too wrong with the Italian language. ASCOMARE is one of our partners who has been working with BILOS on important initiatives. Hi, Dr. Lucci. How are you? It is an honor to have your participation in the one-year celebration of our podcast. Tell us about what it's like to be international consultant for BILOS. How important is the connection between different countries in promoting the law of the sea? And as a member of the International Advisory Board, how do you see BILOS acting in this regard?
Well, let's say that being a member of the International Advisory Board of BILOS, to me is of course a great honor, but I would say that it's at the same time also a big responsibility, in the sense that it compels me in the best possible way, of course, but to live up to very high standards, and the standards of the institute, but also the highly qualified staff of BILOS. Just to put things in perspective, I believe that the promotion of the study of the law of the sea, and also the possibility to facilitate an exchange of views and fruitful discussions among international lawyers, practitioners, students, is an important element. It's really key to better understand the regulatory framework governing maritime spaces and activities and resources. And this is an important aspect reflected also in the UN Sustainable Development Goals, like in SDG 14C, there is a specific reference. So this SDG 14C calls for a better understanding and implementations of international law, which is considered as an essential component, an essential element to improve ocean sustainability. Now, in my opinion, top research institutes like BILOS play an essential role in consolidating and reinforcing this, we can call it as a new know-how paradigm, right? But at the same time, giving the possibility to promote an informed dialogue on a wide range of law of the sea issues and on different topics which are relevant in this case for the study of international law. And to me, this is one of the most enriching aspects of being a member of the BILOS International Advisory Board, for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the partnership and for being with us in this celebration. So, until now, we know that BILOS promotes congresses, competitions, seminars, national international partnerships. What else could an institute's initiative be? Publications, of course. BILOS annually releases a work focused on the law of the sea with articles written by its members and by participants in its congresses. Dr. Felipe Kern Moreira, one of the Institute's directors, has been publishing in BILOS books and comes again to Almar to talk about it. Hi, Dr. Kern. How are you? It's a joy to have you back on the podcast. What is the role of BILOS in published research on the law of the sea in Brazil? And I heard that we're going to take a step further with the Brazilian Yearbook of the Law of the Sea. Tell us more about it.
Hello, listeners of the podcast Almar. My name is Felipe Kern Moreira. I am a professor at the Federal University of Rio Grande and one of the directors of the Brazilian Institute for the Law of the Sea. Regarding the role of the Brazilian Institute for the Law of the Sea in publishing research on the law of the sea, maritime law, and issues related to the governance of the ocean and regional seas, we must recognize that there is a considerable body of work published by Brazilian researchers. The Institute has already developed 4 annual congresses, and at each congress, we publish a book with all the works presented. This allowed us to develop a repertoire on a wide range of subjects related to the law of the sea. It is really impressive, this set of 4 books that were published in partnership with Editora de Plácido, a publisher located in the city of Belo Horizonte in the Brazilian federal state of Minas Gerais. Editora de Plácido supports the Institute in several projects. Recently, we have also published a book with detailed studies on all contentious cases and advisory opinions of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. It is a monumental work with almost 1,000 pages and with contributions from the greatest Brazilian specialists in the law of the sea. It is a work that we should make an English version of, it's my opinion. The president of ITLOS, Judge Albert Hoffman from South Africa, as well as the former Judge Elsa Kelly and the Paraguayan Judge Oscar Sarubi, were present at the launch event of this book. The launch event is even available on YouTube on our Institute's channel. The Brazilian Institute for the Law of the Sea has been working on the project of a Brazilian Yearbook of the Law of the Sea. We have already formed an extraordinary editorial board and are studying proposals for publishers. The idea is for the publication to be entirely in English so that we can more and more internationalize the Institute's activities. Regarding internationalization, some final words should be said in the sense that we have associated researchers, columnists, and interns who constantly publish articles, news, and analysis in Portuguese and English. All these materials are also available on the Institute website. This is also work of scientific dissemination that should be checked out.
It is in fact extremely important to stimulate research on the law of the sea in Brazil and see that BILOS collaborates so much for this. Thank you so much, Dr. Kearney. Always an honor to hear from you. In addition to all the initiatives mentioned, BILOS instituted in 2019 a collaboration system for columnists with the Institute who are responsible for the production and publication on our official website of texts on topics of the law of the sea. And to talk more about it, we're going to welcome the PhD candidate and BILOS editor of columns, Soraya Fontanelles de Menezes. Hi, Mrs. Menezes, how are you? How is your experience in coordinating BILOS columnists and what's the importance of it?
Thank you for your question. At first, let me tell very quickly how I got here. A couple of years ago, we already had a team selected and the project was going on, but at some point it was paused because the Congress organization got so overwhelming that all the directors were too busy, and at the same time I had the opportunity to talk face to face with Professor Zanella because he was doing his postdoc at the same institution I was working and studying. So each week I was there knocking at his door and say, let's not let this project die. That's just a great step that the institute gave. Let's not go back. And I was really doing this each week. At some point, he really saw that I was not kidding. I was really there to embrace this project and very passionate about it. So that's how I got the place of head editor. So if you see a door, maybe you could knock it because someone could be needing your help. Anyway, I got there. I spoke with my partners because I'm not the boss of anyone there. I'm really just the person in charge of schedule and maybe doing a second and a third revision to the material, and sometimes I'm even adding something, like suggesting something or challenging some argument, and that's very nice because they're all very receptive. We really feel like a team. The approach that I try to have is that we are all humans. We have to understand that life happens. We are living such a hard times, and we really have to be there to each other. So if someone is not able to do this during 1 month, that's okay. We're not gonna die because of that. Move on, and the next month he can write twice. We can rearrange things, and being flexible like this and creating a safe space, making people don't feel like it's a burden to write, but is a space, an opportunity to put your ideas on there, is being great. I feel very passionate about it still. Since the beginning of this year, we are posting both Portuguese and English, and I have now a brilliant colleague with me, that is Julia, and we really have an amazing synergy. She's brilliant, and I feel so proud that the project got stronger and bolder, and now that we are doing this in both languages, that's really something that makes me even prouder and passionate every day for what I do. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for participating in the 1 year celebration of our podcast and congratulations for the brilliant work. And to hear the other side of this experience, let's talk to the columnist, Julia Cine Lima Weston, LLM graduate at UCL, University College London, and intern at the Division for Ocean Affairs and the Law of the Sea, United Nations. Welcome, Ms. Weston. How are you? How has the experience of being a BILOS columnist been, and what's the importance of it in your professional qualification?
So today I've been entrusted with talking a bit about my BILOS from the perspective of a columnist. So essentially, BILOS was my first point of contact with the law of the sea community when I came back to Brazil after my LLM studies abroad. And with BILOS in my columnist position came many opportunities to be further in touch with the law of the sea, such as being in touch with the board members who have a lot of experience, attending the Congress and organizing the moot court. So it's all been a very, very special experience that was given to me by being a columnist at BILOS. So being a columnist is a very rewarding experience because you get a lot of chances for feedback. You have a supportive editorial team who's always there to provide you with good feedback. And being a good columnist, besides, of course, making you further develop your writing skills, it also opens a door for knowledge in the sense that you want your columns to be current, you want your columns to be interesting, so you end up drawing yourself to new developments and new themes that you might have not been aware of before, you might not have studied before, but are interesting and current. So it's always an opportunity to learn and to develop your knowledge and to further your knowledge within the law of the sea. So that is extremely special about being a columnist. And also, it does get you out there in terms of being out in the world, producing law of the sea content. Now that we have the bilingual columns in both English and Portuguese, I think this reach has been even furthered during this year. And it's overall a very, very rewarding experience to be among such an interesting institute and around people who are very, very dedicated to the study of the law of the sea. I am aware that this is a special anniversary edition for the BILOS, and I do wish it a great anniversary year, and I do hope that it stays around for many years to come and provides this super important platform for those who are passionate about the law of the sea and want to read and write more about it.
It's great to see how BILOS has positively impacted so many people. Thank you so much, Ms. Weston. It was great to have you with us. Another very important BILOS project is the voluntary internship program established in 2019, of which I am proudly a part of. Currently, 14 undergraduate students make up the group of BILOS interns, which is coordinated by Dr. Luciano Vaz Ferreira, one of the BILOS directors who returns to the podcast to talk about this important role. Welcome back, Dr. Vaz. How are you? Tell the audience how the BILOS voluntary internship program works. How has the experience of coordinating this project been? How does it contribute to the formation of young students interested in the law of the sea, and why is this important to achieve the Institute's goals?
Hello everybody, my name is Luciano Vaz and I'm responsible for the internship sector at the Brazilian Institute for the Law of the Sea. The internship program aims to assist in the training of students who are interested in building a career in law of the sea field. In this sense, each graduate student is supervised by a member of the board, a director, a senior researcher and professor in the field of law of the sea. The main objective is to guide the production of news for the Institute website and other social networks in the law of the sea field. The news are published in English and Portuguese. At the end of the internship, the student receives a certificate. We currently have
14 interns, and we have an annual selection. Come join our team in the future.
Thank you so much for returning to talk about this important BILOS program, Dr. Luciano Vaz. It's really great to have you here for our celebration. The BILOS internship program allows undergraduate students to have greater contact with the law of the sea through the development of news for the Institute's official website. I am one of the Institute's interns, and I can declare with certainty its positive impact on my education and my interest in the law of the sea. But let's hear from another intern who has also been there since the beginning of the program and currently, in addition to writing news, is one of the main figures of communication and social media control of BILOS, the law and philosophy student Isabela Frigueto. Hi, Mrs. Frigueto. How are you? You have been a BILOS intern since 2019 and have been collaborating a lot in the Institute's activities. What does the internship at BILOS represent for your personal, academic, and professional education, and how do you see the impact of this opportunity on your future?
Hi, Lily. I would like to congratulate you for the amazing podcast. I loved all the episodes. I'm very happy to be here today in one of them to talk about a little bit of my experience as a BILOS intern. I am on this internship for 2 years now, and since the beginning, this has been an amazing opportunity to learn more about the law of the sea. I started writing news once a month for the official website about recent events in the law of the sea or maritime law. Then I participated on the organization of the Law of the Sea Week in November that includes the BILOS Congress, the workshops, and the incredible Moot Court Competition, in which we had special participations as the judge Oscar Sarub of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. Now, I am also a team member of the BILOS Communication and Social Media Control. All of these activities were and are very important to my learning process during graduation. As a law student, we do not have a subject about the law of the sea or maritime law at the university. Therefore, the BILOS internship program was a unique experience to have more contact with this very important area. I also would like to say that I'm very happy to be part of BILOS and be able to see how the Institute has grown these last couple of years. We have more academic productions and events both in Portuguese and in English. We have the podcast Alma, and all of this is the result of hard work by the board, columnists, and interns, and I'm very proud to be part of this team.
Thank you, Mrs. Frigueto. It was an honor to count on your participation on our 1 year celebration. So, BILOS is really full of surprises. One of them, for sure, was the creation of this podcast. Let's talk about it with the current Executive Secretary, Dr. André de Paiva Toledo. How are you, Dr. Toledo? We have reached the year of the podcast. Did you expect that? How do you feel about it, and how do you think the podcast has contributed to BILOS goals and activities over that time? Why create a podcast to talk about the law of the sea?
The Brazilian Institute for the Law of the Sea, known as BILOS, is a non-profit technical scientific association for the development of the law of the sea in Brazil by supporting academic studies, research groups, thematic events, and specific works. Among our actions, the podcast Almar stands out. Almar means to the sea. It was created with the aim of bringing together in a dynamic format the work done on law of the sea, maritime law, and related branches in Brazil and worldwide. Given the severity of the COVID-19 pandemic, many academic events started to be organized by video conference, which were later made available on a streaming platform. BILOS already had its official YouTube channel, but only recordings of conferences held in person were found there. With the need to continue the work in a context of social isolation, the importance of videos and audios for the dissemination of information about BILOS became evident. Hence, the idea of creating the podcast. The production of an episode of the podcast is part of the internship program existing at BILOS. This means that the preparation of the interview script, recording, editing, and publishing the episode is under the responsibility of an intern with the supervision of a director of BILOS. The title of the podcast, which is To the Sea, corresponds to a call for urgency and enthusiasm. Therefore, the exclamation point is used. It's an invitation for people to become interested in a topic that is so important to everyone, including those who live far from the coast. The oxygen we breathe comes from the sea. The sea is the real lung of the world. It's from the sea that humanity obtains an important source of food. It's through the sea that international trade takes place. It is through the sea that humanity is integrated. However, the human being is a land-based being. This apparent contradiction often makes us forget how careful we should be with the sea. The expression "to the sea," which we use as title for the podcast, is therefore an invitation to launch ourselves into this wonderful universe. The podcast consists of a monthly publication of an interview with persons specializing in the maritime theme. In addition to the dissemination function, it's also a memory tool, recording the voice of the person interviewed for posterity. Recently, Professor Fábio Hazin passed away because of COVID-19, which was a source of great sadness for all of us. Professor Hazin was interviewed in episode number 12. Having a record of his voice and his thoughts, it's a good that BILOS makes available to future generations. After a year, BILOS is convinced that podcast is one of its most interesting and strategic actions. Therefore, we decide to broaden its linguistic base. From now on, the podcast will not be restricted to Portuguese, a language spoken in 8 countries, including Brazil. With this, we hope to universalize the work done by BILOS.
Thank you, Dr. Toledo. I really appreciate the opportunity to be part of this project, and I truly believe in the power of recording in memory the wise words and ideas of great teachers, professionals, researchers like Professor Fábio Hazin, to whom I even dedicate the presentation of this episode due to its great contribution to science, and it was really an honor to be able to interview him for this podcast. It was a moment that I'll never forget. Congratulations on coordinating the project, and thank you for being part of this 1-year anniversary of our dear Almar. As the presenter, editor, and producer of this podcast, I am very proud. It is an honor to be part of the BILOS team and to increasingly promote the law of the sea in Brazil and I believe in the world. I have been very influenced by BILOS since the first Congress I attended, and I could not imagine how the law of the sea would change my life. I believe that the law of the sea is much more than a legal regime. It goes beyond the international law and environmental law because the law of the sea connects everything, as the sea connects everything. I hope you enjoyed our work throughout this year, and I wish the podcast a long life. Thanks to all the listeners, and let's continue to the sea. This was the 21st episode of Almar, the official podcast of the Brazilian Institute for the Law of the Sea. Thank you for listening to us. Almar is available on all streaming platforms. Like and share with friends to receive the main information about the law of the sea. See you next time.